Servants pile blankets on top of him. They light fires. Nothing works. David lies at age 70, his body failing after 4 decades on Israel's throne. Outside his chamber, his son Adonijah is already declaring himself the next king. Another son plots, another schemes. The greatest warrior Israel ever knew cannot even rise from his bed. But this is not where the story begins. 40 years earlier, no one would have imagined this ending. Not for the boy so insignificant, his own father forgot him when the prophet came calling. Act 1. The Forgotten Son. The year is approximately 1010 BCE. Samuel the prophet arrives in Bethlehem, sent by God to anoint a new king after God rejected Saul. A shepherd named Jesse presents his sons, 7 strong men, warriors and farmers. Samuel looks at Eliab, the firstborn, and thinks, surely this is God's anointed. But God says no. One by one, 7 sons parade before the prophet. One by one, God rejects them all. Are these all your children? Samuel asks. Jesse answers, there remains yet the youngest, but he is out taking care of the sheep. The youngest. The afterthought. The one not even invited to the ceremony. They send for him. A young man arrives, good-looking, healthy, ruddy. The Lord tells Samuel, get up and anoint him. He is the one. The Spirit of the Lord comes upon David with power from that day forward. But no one else knows. No celebrations, no announcements. David returns to the fields, returns to the sheep, returns to obscurity. Here's what makes this moment extraordinary. David doesn't demand recognition, doesn't tell his brothers, doesn't rush to claim his destiny. He waits. He tends sheep. He learns patience in the wilderness, a lesson that will save his life a dozen times over. Act 2. The Valley of Death. Time passes, months, perhaps years. Israel faces the Philistines in the Valley of Elah. For 40 days, a giant named Goliath, over 9 feet tall, mocks the armies of Israel and their God. Every morning, every evening, 40 days of fear. David arrives carrying cheese sandwiches for his brothers. He's not a soldier, he's a delivery boy. His brother Eliab, remember him, the one Samuel almost anointed, grows angry when David asks questions about the giant. Why did you come here? He sneers. I know your arrogance and evil heart. The rejection stings, but David learned something in those wilderness years with the sheep. He learned that size doesn't determine victory. God does. David tells King Saul about killing a lion and bear that attacked his flock. The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the bear will deliver me from this Philistine. Saul tries to give David armor. It doesn't fit. David takes it off. He won't fight like everyone expects. He'll fight like a shepherd. 5 smooth stones, 1 sling. Goliath mocks him. Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? David shouts back that he comes in the name of the Lord. The stone sinks into Goliath's forehead. The giant falls. The Philistines flee. Israel roars. But watch what happens next. Act 3. The Price of Fame. Women come out singing, Saul has killed his thousands, but David his 10,000s. The song makes David a hero. It makes Saul a killer. From that day forward, Saul eyes David with jealousy and anger. Here's the twist. David becomes best friends with Jonathan, Saul's son, the man who should rightfully hate David most, since David will take the throne he's meant to inherit. Jonathan gives David his royal robe, armor, sword, and bow, symbolically passing his right to the throne to David. While his father tries to murder David, Jonathan risks everything to protect him. Twice Saul hurls a spear at David. Twice David dodges death. Saul sends David into impossible military situations, hoping the Philistines will kill him. But David wins every battle. Saul's fear grows. David flees. He goes to Samuel, then back to Jonathan, then to priests, then to caves. His small band of followers grows to 400 men, outcasts, debtors, the discontented. For years David runs. The anointed king lives in caves, eats scraps, hides in wilderness strongholds. Twice he has the chance to kill Saul, once even cutting off a piece of Saul's robe in a cave. But David refuses. "The Lord forbid that I should harm the Lord's anointed," he says. He will not seize the throne God promised him. He will not force God's timing. This is where most heroes would break, would justify murder, would claim self-defense. David waits. Act 4. Death and Coronation. The Philistines attack on Mount Gilboa. Jonathan and his brothers fall in battle. Saul commits suicide. When David learns of their deaths, he composes a lament. "How I weep for you, my brother Jonathan. Your love for me was deeper than the love of women." The throne is finally his. David is anointed king by the tribe of Judah, then eventually all the tribes of Israel. He conquers Jerusalem and makes it his capital. He brings the Ark of the Covenant to the city. David reigns for 40 years, 7 in Hebron over Judah, 33 in Jerusalem over all Israel. He expands the kingdom, defeats enemies, secures borders, writes psalms that will be sung for 3,000 years. But then, Act 5, the rooftop. Spring, the time when kings go out to battle, but David stays in Jerusalem. He's restless. Walks on his palace rooftop in the cool evening. He sees a woman bathing. Bathsheba, wife of Uriah the Hittite, one of David's most loyal soldiers. David summons her. He's the king. She has no power to refuse. He takes her. She becomes pregnant. Everything David learned in the wilderness, patience, waiting, trusting God, he abandons in one moment. David commands Uriah to return from battle, hoping he'll sleep with his wife and cover the pregnancy. But Uriah refuses, staying loyal to his fellow soldiers. So David makes it worse. He sends Uriah back to the front lines with a sealed letter, his own death warrant. Uriah is to be placed where fighting is fiercest, then abandoned. Uriah dies. David marries the widow. But the thing David had done displeased the Lord. God sends the prophet Nathan. Nathan tells David a story about a rich man who steals a poor man's only lamb. David is furious at this injustice. Nathan points at the king. "You are the man." Everything stops. The greatest king, the man after God's own heart, the giant slayer, the psalm writer, exposed, guilty, broken. David repents. "I have sinned against the Lord." Nathan says God has forgiven him. He will not die, but the child will die. 7 days later, the baby dies. David fasts and prays throughout the child's illness, but when death comes, he rises, washes, worships, and eats. Later, Bathsheba bears another son, Solomon, who will become David's successor. Act 6. The sword never departs. Nathan prophesied that violence would never leave David's house. The prophecy unfolds with terrible precision. David's son Amnon rapes his half-sister Tamar. David does nothing. Absalom, Tamar's brother, waits 2 years, then has Amnon murdered. Absalom flees for 3 years. When he returns, he begins plotting. For 4 years, he stands at the city gate, telling people their cases are just, but the king won't hear them. "If only I were judge," he says. He steals the hearts of the people of Israel. Then Absalom goes to Hebron, the same place David was first made king, and declares himself ruler. He marches on Jerusalem. David flees his own city. The king who conquered Jerusalem abandons it. He crosses the Kidron Brook, weeps on the Mount of Olives, and escapes across the Jordan. His own son hunts him. Absalom even publicly sleeps with David's concubines on the palace roof, the same roof where David first saw Bathsheba. The armies clash in the forest of Ephraim. 20,000 men die. Absalom, riding under trees, gets his famous long hair caught in branches. He hangs there, helpless. Joab, David's commander, kills Absalom with 3 darts through the heart, directly disobeying David's orders to spare his son. When David hears the news, he cries out, "Oh, my son Absalom! My son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you! Oh, Absalom, my son, my son!" The victory tastes like ashes. David's sin has cost him everything that matters. Act 7. The Final Succession. Years pass. David grows old, bedridden, unable to get warm. His son Adonijah declares himself king, gathering supporters. But Nathan the prophet, the same one who confronted David about Bathsheba, alerts Bathsheba. They go to David. Bathsheba reminds him of his promise. Solomon will be king. David rouses himself one final time. Zadok the priest and Nathan take Solomon to the spring of Gihon. They anoint him. The people rejoice. Adonijah's rebellion collapses. Then David dies and is buried in the city of David, Jerusalem, the city he conquered and made the eternal capital.